I'll be honest, it's kind of scary to think that we're halfway through 2022 already, but the last 6 months have already thrown up an array of incredible games, from sports sims to old school adventures and tactical masterclasses. So why don't we take a look at the very best games of 2022 so far, and why don't you let us know your favourites in the comments below as we go. Would you look at that? It even rhymes.
Where else to start but with From Software's latest masochistic masterpiece? You know what I'm about to say. It's Elden Ring, of course. This dark fantasy epic blew us all away by taking the perfectly calibrated combat and eerie atmosphere of the Dark Souls games and applying it to a vast open world. That means rather than choosing between a few different passageways full of things that will definitely kill you, you've got an entire map of sprawling fields, dingy caves, and cragged mountains, all of which are also full of things that will definitely kill you a bit more. It's a gorgeous, grisly world that looks even better on Xbox Series X and S, where Elden Ring has been optimized with HDR10 support to help you really appreciate the vibrant orange tones of that dragon breath before it burns you to an utter crisp. And thanks to smart delivery, you'll always have access to the best version of the game your console can play, even before you move on to a next-gen machine after you've bought the game. But rest assured, that really is the very last bit of kindness you're going to receive from Elden Ring.
Staying in the realm of swords, sorcery, and the kind of horrifying creatures that would make H.P. Lovecraft shiver, Total War Warhammer 3 has been another one of this year's dark fantasy delights. It's really the perfect real-time strategy game for folks who love the intricate planning and quick-fire decision-making of a classic Total War game, but just really feel like they could use more feathery warlocks and dudes with teeth in their bellies. Yeah, that's right. Total War Warhammer 3 features a broad selection of terrifying armies for you to command, each with their own unique specialities and strategic advantages. So whether you want to just poison your foes with deadly toxins, bewilder them with magic spells, or just bash their brains out with a great big stick, you'll find a faction that suits your needs. Oh, and despite the fact they have names like Fartigoth, at times you just can't help but get attached to them. RIP to a king.
Killed in battle. Oh my god,
gone,
he is.
man. He's dead.
Oh my god.
What's the point?
Oh, delete the game. I don't care anymore. What's the point?
Whatever approach you go with, one easy strategic decision you can make is to sign up for PC Game Pass, where Total War Warhammer 3 landed as a Day 1 release.
But PC gamers weren't the only ones getting to flex their tactical muscles, no, not since the console edition of Crusader Kings 3 came rolling into town. Now available on both PC and Xbox Game Pass, the third game in this scandalous strategy series once again allows you to shape the course of history through gossip, deception, and strategic philandering. By placing as much emphasis on the petty rivalries and personality quirks of the ruling class as it does on the more formal stuff like, boring stuff, military tactics, and trade routes, Crusader Kings 3 is able to offer both the plate-spinning mental challenges of a strategy game and the salacious thrills of a soap opera. And now you can enjoy it from the comfort of your Xbox console thanks to this new edition, which boasts a totally reworked UI and control scheme to make assassinating your uncle or seducing your sister-in-law as easy as hitting a couple of buttons on your gamepad.
With 45 levels drawn from across the 9 movie series and some 380 playable characters, the LEGO Skywalker Saga is gonna have any Star Wars fan feeling like a kid in a very, very well-stocked toy store. And you really are given the run of the place, playing through the episodes in whatever order you like. That means you can head straight for Rey and Kylo's iconic duel, or dip back into the originals for some classic Ewok action. Or if you just want to spend as much time with Jar Jar Binks as possible, well, you've clearly got very good taste. The whole saga is more action-packed than ever, thanks to a revamped combat system that lets you use your blaster with laser precision and throw out sweet lightsaber combos, which flow even more beautifully in 60 FPS on the Xbox Series X and S. And things just keep getting better too, with DLC adding even more characters from across that far-off galaxy. So, whether you've picked it up on release day or you're just getting around to it now, this saga has only just begun.
The action under the floodlights has never looked more stunning than it does in MLB The Show 22, offering a staggeringly authentic version of America's favourite pastime in 4K Ultra HD on the Xbox Series X. In fact, the visuals are so crystal clear that if you get struck out now, I'm afraid you have no one to blame but yourself. That said, the game does now come with refined difficulty settings to help newcomers, like me, get to grips with new things, so you'll all be hitting home runners in no time at all. And not only does MLB The Show 22 take you down to the ballpark, but it lets you build your very own one too, with a stadium creator mode. Whether you are a die-hard Red Sox fan or someone who still thinks of baseball as rounders but with funny outfits, MLB The Show 22 is still one of the best sports sims around, and it's available now on Xbox Game Pass. How about that for a home run?
Tunic was a long time in the making, having first won over audiences with an adorable trailer all the way back at E3 2018. But that extended waiting period actually feels kind of appropriate because this isometric adventure is truly timeless. Tunic has you solving puzzles, slicing enemies, and doing all the heroic stuff that video game characters in green tunics have been doing for decades, although they never wore it quite so well, with Tunic's retro style coming in opulent 4K 60 on the Xbox Series X. But the really cool thing about this charming adventure game is the way it drops you into its fantasy world and then just leaves you to find your own way, experimenting with new tools and trying stuff out rather than guiding you down a set path. Managing to feel both intriguingly experimental and enjoyably familiar, Tunic might be one of this year's indie gems, and it's available now on both PC and Xbox Game Pass.
Another indie hit now, which you definitely don't want to sleep on, is the charming roguelike sequel, Rogue Legacy 2. Just like the original, Rogue Legacy 2 creates a compelling game loop in which you adventure out through a series of procedurally generated dungeons, scooping up treasure and bonking bad guys on the head as you go. Should your run come to an unfortunate end, you'll pass the baton on to one of your heirs. And depending on what traits get passed down, your new offspring might be talented as a dungeon crawler in their own right, or you might have to use some of that gold you found to buy some upgrades for your poor fail son. At least next-gen gamers will have a smooth 60 frames per second frame rate to work with, no matter what Mother Nature throws their way. This is easily one of the year's best reviewed games. Rogue Legacy 2 should be near the top of your list if you haven't checked it out already.
Arcade fighting games simply never go out of fashion, and this year one of the genre's longest reigning champions came back to defend its title with King of Fighters 15. The series' classic brand of 3-on-3 combat returns as players deliver furious combos, counterattack with deadly shatter strikes, and, when the time is right and those energy bars are fit to burst, unleash ridiculous special moves to finish their opponents off in style. The 15th game in this acclaimed series comes with a stacked roster featuring 39 characters taken from across the franchise history, with more extravagantly dressed warriors arriving through DLC. It also takes advantage of rollback netcode for the first time in the franchise history to deliver smoother online play than ever before. With some lush new 4K visuals on the Xbox Series X and a thrilling story finale for everyone to enjoy, this truly is the king of King of Fighters games.
With her bubbly personality, tragic backstory, and unending passion for blowing stuff up, Tiny Tina quickly became one of the Borderlands' most beloved figures, so it's about damn time she got a full game all to herself. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands see you taking part in a tabletop RPG being run by Tina herself, meaning you can expect things to get quite silly and extremely violent, which creates plenty of opportunities for Borderlands' trademark brand of looting, shooting action, and its somewhat irreverent sense of humour. But Borderlands also mixes things up in a pretty big way by letting you create your own character from scratch, mixing and matching abilities from different classes as you go. Whether you were to lean into the emo vibes of a Graveborn, go au naturel as a Spore Warden, or forgo subtlety altogether by focusing on your Stabbermancer skills, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands presents you with a wide, weird world of deadly possibilities.
Dying Light 2 Stay Human is an action-oriented open-world game where you get to parkour your way across the rooftops, combining your athletic abilities with grappling hooks and paragliders to pull off all kinds of audacious maneuvers. It really turns the whole of Harran City into one big playground. Although, admittedly, said playground does happen to be filled with vicious, flesh-eating zombies, which is less than ideal. Still, it gives you the chance to combine your sprightly skills with all kinds of melee and ranged weapons to help you dish out some flamboyant death from above. The more you scour the city, the more parts you'll find to help you craft newer, even more deadly weapons to make your urban adventures even more enjoyable. And thanks to a recently added New Game Plus mode, you can carry over all of your finest tools even after you finish the main campaign and take on a whole new wave of even more powerful enemies.
The action RPG Weird West is another game in which the possibilities are pretty much endless, although a lot of them are kinda grim. Set in a gothic reimagining of the Wild West, it all goes down in a sandbox world in which all of your actions can have a kind of permanent effect. So be careful where you point those 6-shooters, folks. The dynamic quality of its world makes it even more fun to play around with the various playstyles that Weird West opens itself up to, from forming a posse to take down the town by storm to going it alone and stalking your way through the shadows. No two playthroughs will turn out quite the same, and no two players will come away with quite the same story either to tell, especially about the goings-on in the weird world of the Weird West. And now it's available on Xbox Game Pass, so playing it won't even cost you a fistful of dollars, ayy.
As always, there have just been far too many great and interesting games for us to mention all of them, but we wanted to quickly shout out a few of the indie gems which also landed on Xbox Game Pass this year. The advantage of being a total nobody is that you can become absolutely anybody, and that's exactly how Nobody Saves the World thrives as a game. In this irreverent isometric actioner, you'll learn to shapeshift into over a dozen different forms, mixing and matching the talents of magicians, monks, and musclemen, not to mention robots, rats, and rogues, as you attempt to prevent the Great Calamity. 25 years after the original, Windjammers 2 arrived on Xbox Game Pass, and we all collectively remembered how much fun it is to hurl discs at each other at ridiculous speed. With its retro cartoon art style and its rockin' 90s soundtrack, Windjammers 2 is the perfect blast from the past. Requiring both the quick-fingered skill of a platformer and the careful plate spinning of a management sim, Far-Changing Tides really makes you work to stay alive, but your reward is the chance to explore a wide and watery world which is full of sunken secrets and stunning scenery, all the more gorgeous in 4K on the Xbox Series X, by the way.
So when you kind of line it all up like that, you really can appreciate what a strong year 2022 has been already, but with plenty more on the horizon, we cannot wait to see what this list is going to look like by the end of December. Hit the comments to let us know about your favourites so far and the ones you're most looking forward to. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for updates about everything 2022 still has in store. Bye bye!